And I believe we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ring the Bell podcast number 8. I'm here today with my co host, Nathan. How have you been, bro?
I've been fine, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, man. A not so exciting weekend of boxing this weekend in terms of maybe not the superstar names that everybody knows, but some good fights nonetheless. We'll start off with a bit of a stinker. Did you see Joyce battering Arnie Palmer?
What a load of shit this was. That's
Oh
all I can
man,
say.
I feel terrible for the fans who paid tickets to travel, paid money to travel and bought tickets to wait around for this fight. Luckily, there were some other good fights on the card, but this one was just what on earth, man? How is how on earth is he that out of shape for one thing?
I have no idea. He was embarrassing.
And how on earth did he just like what was his game plan? I don't understand. It was just terrible all round. A good stoppage win for Joyce, but what does it really tell anyone?
Doesn't tell anybody anything. Just tells us that he could knock out people at the local dustbin man from New York
Yeah,
or wherever the hell he's from.
yeah,
I was
that's.
embarrassed watching it,
It's,
weren't you? I was thinking, I'm wasting my time watching this.
I didn't actually stay up to watch it. I just watched a video. Someone sent me a video of it. I think it was you, and yeah, it was pretty appalling.
Like,
That's low level heavyweight boxing. That is.
I really don't think David Hay knows what he's doing with this guy. In a way, there's a sense of it that thinks he doesn't have a clue. Or maybe I'm
Possibly.
being unfair.
I think you're being probably a bit fair, but I also think it's hard to get opponents for someone with so much amateur experience and World Boxing Super Series experience that it is always going to be like this a little bit. I find it interesting that they've signed to fight Chisora. That is good news.
I think it's
What are
good.
your
It's a good
thoughts
move.
on
I
that?
like it.
Yeah.
I think it's a great move. I think it's a great fight, and then we'll find out if he's surreal or not. If he can beat Chisora like I think he can.
Sure. For me, it depends on what Chisora turns up. And do you know what? I would advise David Hay to stay well away from the press conferences because
Hmm.
David Hay could end up pissing Chisora off. And if Chisora gets pissed off, we all know he could actually put up a good fight. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I'd tell David Hay if he is signing this fight, just be very friendly to Chisora. Don't wind him
but
up. Otherwise, he might actually do something in the ring.
but, but you
So
did
yeah,
tell me that it was on box rec. I've checked it myself, and it's a box rec. I know that doesn't
yeah.
mean it's going to happen, but I think it will happen. How much
Uh,
money do you think Chisora would have got?
it's pretty much confirmed. I reckon it's about 120 to 150 grand, something in that
Is he
region.
worth that Chisora anymore? Do you think?
No, but you've got to pay a premium when you're building a fighter like Joyce to get those names on the record. So,
So if
it,
Joyce,
if Joyce wins in stunning fashion, then it will have been worth it. Yeah,
what happens if he wins and it's a stinker in a 12 round fight
very
that no one wants to
possible
watch?
because they're both very slow fighters. Um, it's that wouldn't be good for Joyce's progression. It would be a step backwards. So I would say he needs to win convincingly on points or by stoppage to really
Do you?
get
How do you think he'll
anything
win
from this
personally?
fight. I think it depends what Chisora shows up.
Okay.
If Chisora against Ajit Kabayel shows up, I think Joyce will stop him late. If Chisora
Yeah.
against Dillian Whyte shows up, it's a different fight. It's a closer fight.
But we can't sell Joyce short here. He's got more in the locker than what he's shown us. I think he has.
Sure. He's got good skills. I think he's just a bit slow-footed though. I think Chisora is the perfect sort of matchup for him at this time because Chisora is slow. He's still got the name that the British public know.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's a great fight for Joyce, really.
It's a masterstroke. This can either be disastrous or it can be a masterstroke by David Hay.
100%. And then I want to see him fight. Ajit Kabayel.
I'm not so sure that would be a great fight. I don't know. We'll see what happens after the fight.
Well, I mean,
for the European,
he's got to move on to European or low-level world title fights sooner rather than later.
What level do you personally think he is? Honestly, Joyce can get to, because I'm not convinced he goes past European level personally.
Well, that's why he's got to. If he beats Chisora convincingly, then the fight against Kabayel makes sense because Kabayel beat Chisora, so it sort of lines itself up perfectly. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think he can get to European level. I think he could possibly beat someone like Manuel Char, but
yeah,
I don't know.
No.
He's not got his time is not on his side to learn fast enough to beat the likes of Wilder, AJ, or Parker. They're all miles ahead of him, and they're much younger. And two of them are much younger than him as well, so that's a problem.
I personally think if Eddie Hearn had grabbed him and said, "Here you are," I reckon that that Chisora fight would have happened earlier. Also, I believe that someone like Eddie Hearn would steer him the right way, away from the main people, Like David Hayes tried to do. Only time to.
But you can't steer him away from the main people. Look at Lomachenko. He's the older Olympian, and he got thrown in the deep end, and he lost. But the loss didn't really hurt him, did it? He's still one of the biggest names in boxing today. So I think Joe Joyce is going to have to be built that same way, in at the deep end.
Yeah, I mean, I wish, but obviously we can all wish for different things. I wish him the best. I don't wish him any harm.
No,
I think he's got more talent than David Price and Audley Harrison. I will say that. Yeah, he has. But he's just, it feels like he's coming at the wrong place at the wrong time. Does that make any sense?
I completely agree. I think the only thing in his favour is that heavyweights have long careers. So he could still be here in 8 years.
Yeah, and Manuel Char is the champion. That also gives him hope.
Gives him a route. Right, let's move on to another fight on that card. Matty Askin versus Stephen Simmons. Did you see this fight?
I did. It was a great performance by Matty. I thought it was
great. I was impressed as well, man. I was very impressed. He looked sharp. He got sort of pushed back to the ropes a bit, but then landed counters to the body and had Simmons in serious trouble. Great stoppage. It's hard to talk too much about the fight because it was over in the second round, but possible matchups for Matty Askin. Luke Watkins, what do you think of that?
Great fight. That's a great fight.
Yeah, you could make it for the Commonwealth and the British to get together because Luke Watkins is the Commonwealth, I believe.
Yeah.
I think
Matty's got that. Sorry.
No, yeah, you go.
Carry on. What are you going to say? What about?
Well, I was going to say, what about Lawrence Okoli?
Okoli's not ready.
No, I would agree. What were you going to say, bro? Sorry.
I don't think Watkins' people will take the fight as at this stage. I think Matty's gone past it. Matty should aim for European level. He should aim for some sort of European title shot if he can.
Of course, the problem is with the cruiserweight division is that stepping up to European or world level is actually stepping up huge in class.
It is, yeah.
Because those guys at that level at cruiserweight, they might not be big names, but they are tough guys in and around that level.
Dynamo Kuchas of the world.
Right, exactly. It's not a guaranteed win for a Matty Askin to step into those fights.
I think really he'll just stay at this level then what he is, if that's the case, like the Okolas of this world.
It's a problem. We'll see. I would love to see him step up. I think he could do it. I think he could be at least European champion, but it's just a tough ask in that division.
Because he's been professional for like 8 or 9 years, do you feel like he's in the dark? He's so underrated, Matty Askin, isn't he? He's in the dark, all the time, where Okoli and Chamberlain get all the glory. He doesn't get anything.
Sure, he's been slept on a bit, but I think with that performance, he's going to have put his name out there quite a bit because Stephen Simmons isn't a bad fighter.
But he's not great.
Well, he's not a great fighter, but he's well respected on the British cruiserweight scene, and to stop him like that it's impressive.
Brutal.
Yeah, it's impressive. We'll move on anyway. So Gvozdyk, I never know how to pronounce his name. Gvozdyk. He won.
Gvozdyk will do.
Yeah, he won pretty comfortably over Mehdi Amar. That was for the interim WBC World Light Heavyweight title. It was an easy fight for him, but I know he's had a weird career where he's been inactive for parts of it and stuff. So it's good to see him back. Good to see him with a belt. But I don't know why they gave him the interim belt. Maybe he had some deal with them when he got injured and stepped out of the ring for a bit. He had some deal with the WBC, but it is very peculiar. But it's an interesting guy to have in the light heavyweight mix. There's a few guys I'd like to see him fight. So yeah, it was, did you catch any of the fight at all?
I watched a bit of it. I think he's a good fighter, but I don't think he's as good as the other champions.
That's possible, but he has been out of the ring for so long that I know he's been back recently. He's had a couple of fights, but I think you could say ring rust might count for a bit of it.
Great fighter, but unfortunately, there's four other great champions ahead of him, in my opinion. Yeah. Just that little bit better.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but he could still be in interesting fights with them, and he makes the division.
Bivol, I could like to see him fight Bivol, but the problem with this light heavyweight division is the same as the cruiserweight. Once you step into that world title level, all the champions are good now. There's no weak champions left.
Yeah, there's no easy pickings. No.
There's no Tony. There's no Nathan Cleverleys or anybody like that left.
No, it's a shame. Jurgen Bremer, stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh God. Oh dear.
Well, for me, it was a good win. I felt he pretty much controlled the fight. He looks comfortable, but yeah, maybe he's not as explosive or as impressive as some of the other champions.
But the guy he was fighting was only European level. The guy he was fighting.
Sure.
I saw on the box.
Sure, I don't disagree, but I mean, he'll step back up into big fights. I'm quite sure of it. He's got that fighting mentality.
I hope Stevenson steps up to the plate and actually fights a mandatory for a change. That would make a change.
He's fighting Badu Jack, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's a good fight.
It's all mixed up, isn't the WBC? They need to sort their rating systems out. If they were a proper organisation, they wouldn't give this guy an interim belt. Makes no bloody sense.
I agree in many ways, man. Unless they had some legal issue with him when he stepped away or something, I don't really know. I'll have to look into it more. But
don't forget, we're talking about an organisation that let drug cheats, off the hook. So we've got to be careful how we play that.
We'll also be careful how we state that. What we will say
sorry, I apologise.
What we'll say is allegedly. That gets you away with.
Sorry.
It gets you away with. It gets you away with everything. As long as you just say allegedly, you're gold.
But the WBC let cheats anyway, so I'm going to say bollocks.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I'm keeping our channel from getting strike down. Jose Carlos Ramirez. This was a good little fight, actually. He won the vacant WBC World Super Lightweight title, which is odd that the Super Lightweight title was... I didn't know it was vacant, but obviously...
Yeah, because it was Terence Crawford, wasn't it? Because he had full belt.
TC stepped up. That makes sense, of course. Of course. So, yeah, he won an interesting fight against Amir Imam. I mean, interesting's not the right word, but he looked comfortable. He looked controlled. I think he won it. Yeah, it was a UD. It was a unanimous decision. So, a good win for him. I only really saw the highlight. I mean, I saw most of this fight, but I sort of tuned in and out of it. And
it was a good little fight.
It was a good little fight. It wasn't the best fight because it was Amir Imam didn't have a lot to offer, but he kept Jose Carlos Ramirez honest and made him work. It was a good win. I'd want to see him fight some more 140 names. I think that Progra guy would probably beat Jose Carlos Ramirez.
He would beat comfortably. He'd knock him out.
Yeah. Yeah, I tend to think that too. I'd want to see this Ramirez fight a few more world level guys before I really gave him too
Like an
high a
Anthony
rating.
Corolla
But
or someone like that.
that would be a good fight. Yeah, that'd be a good fight. Luke Campbell at 142, that'd be a good
Yeah.
fight. Something
Be
like
very
that.
close.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it was a good win, and he's the champ now, so he'll have to be in some big fights. That's the one thing about becoming champion is.
Right, mate, I'm just going to have to quickly mute very quickly.
Yeah, please do. I'll go on to the next fight anyway, which was Felix Verdejo, and I didn't actually see this whole fight, but I saw the last couple of rounds, and my God, Verdejo was all over the place, and he
Great
deserved to
fight.
get stopped. I didn't actually see the whole fight. I only saw
I saw
the last
round
few
10.
rounds. Yeah, I saw the last few rounds as well. But
Well, that round, he was hanging on, wasn't he? Verdejo was hanging on by a thread.
he
If
was
that
all
gone
over the
20
place.
seconds, wasn't he winning the fight or was he losing the fight? Because I couldn't remember. I think on the scores he was losing. Just.
I think he was losing because he got knocked down in round 10, didn't he?
But to get stopped in the last 22 seconds of the fight before the final bell must be gutting. Must be gutting.
It is gutting, but it's also funny. If you don't train and you don't take your opponent seriously, that's what will happen to you. And so it's a good wake-up call. He's young enough. He can come again. This has happened to many fighters. Look at Luke Campbell. Look at Johnny
Alex
Nelson.
Arthur.
Yeah, so he can come again, but he needs to learn to. He wasn't even fit for 10 rounds. It was a 10-round fight. Imagine if that was a 12-round fight. It would have been even worse for him. So
I think if he had a rematch and trained properly, he would win that.
Oh, I agree. He should sign on to the rematch and fight again, and he probably will win.
But he's a talent. Don't get me wrong. He's a talent.
He needs to not go.
He was mandatory.
He needs to not go to war. He needs to box. He's quite a good boxer, and when he stays with his boxing game, he can win rounds comfortably. I think he could beat that guy really easily, to be honest.
I mean, it's a shame. Obviously, all these fighters, you learn who the real people are in boxing. Losses can make your career sometimes.
True. Look at James DeHale. Look at George Groves. There's two guys who have fought each other and gone on to win world titles. So no shame in an early loss as long as you know what to do about it.
Sometimes it's better to have a loss early in your career than later in your career.
Oh, 100%, because you know what it is to recover from it. You know how to come back from it. So
you get much stronger, and Yeah.
For some people, it depends on your mentality. Like Eubank Jr. does not learn from anything, so his losses haven't helped him at all. But
who's Chris Eubank Jr. again? Oh yeah, the kid who had a famous father who thought he was better than you. Oh yeah.
Right. Anyway, that was pretty much it for all the good boxing on this weekend. Oh no, we got one more. Michael Conlan. He won on St. Patrick's Day by a second-round body shot. Very destructive puncher for such a lightweight class. I was impressed, actually. Did you see this stoppage?
I saw the stoppage. It was good. He looks really good. It's only his seventh fight in it, Conlan. I mean,
yeah.
Decent. I wish he'd base himself in England, though.
Well, the thing is, there's so many more Irish Americans that are willing to pay pay-per-view at $75. So his idea is to build in New York, have fights on, St. Patrick's Day and Irish holidays.
But he's a British fighter. He was born in Northern Ireland. He could fight for the British title.
He could, but he could still fight for the British title in America, technically.
Really, that's weird.
It is weird, but as long as the two fighters are British, the board would probably sanction it still.
Yeah. I wish him all the best. He's a great little fighter. I think he's future world champion.
I think so. He's interesting to watch. He's had some fights where he's not looked that powerful and he's not looked like he was sitting down on his shots, but he's really seemed to improve in that area of his game, actually. So good for him. I'm happy for him. It's a good little win. And that pretty much was all the boxing, the good boxing on this weekend, unless you know of another fight.
I did want to. We had some predictions, didn't we, for a build next week?
Oh yeah, we're going. That's what I'm moving on. That's what I'm moving on to
Oh,
now.
sorry.
In
Yeah.
terms of all the actual boxing from last weekend, that was pretty much it. It wasn't the most exhilarating or exciting weekend of boxing, but it was still a good little weekend with some good fights. Now we'll come on to two fights coming up this weekend. Great fights, in my opinion. First of all, we've got Scotty Cardle versus Lewis Ritson. And yeah, I'm really excited for this fight because I've been watching Lewis Ritson for a little while now. I think he's a very touted prospect. I think he's got a lot of skill, probably the best boxer from the Northeast for a long time. And then you've got Cardle, who is a top British level operator. And if Lewis Ritson isn't the real deal, he will struggle against Scotty Cardle. But I personally think Ritson's got the momentum. Momentum is a big thing in boxing, and he's had the two very good wins back to back. And I think the momentum for him coming into this fight is just right. I think he'll probably win this fight by a late stoppage. That's my prediction.
He's a talent, this kid. I mean, his opponent has got some good wins on his record as well, but also a few losses.
Cardle's good, but Cardle's definitely shown that when he comes up against top British level opposition, he's lost sometimes, but he's also beaten some good opposition, and so it is a tough one. It is a tough one. Robbie Barrett obviously beat Scotty Cardle, and I personally felt that Sean Dodd beat Scotty Cardle in the fight where they drew. But they were good fights, exactly like you say. And so Scotty Cardle is a guy that's really going to give Lewis Ritson a tough challenge. The winner of this will go on to European level. The loser of it probably has to stay back down at British level. But it's a great fight.
Who would you like to see the winner face? Who else in the domestic scene?
Oh, at lightweight, I suppose Ritson versus someone like, I don't know, it's really hard at 135, isn't it? Because you've got the guys who are well ahead, like Campbell and Crawler and Burns.
Streetshead.
But he's not too far off that level. I'd like to put him in at European level, I think. I don't think I would give him another domestic fight after this one.
There's only so far you can go at this British level of stuff, isn't there, really?
Exactly, man. I'm looking at the rankings now. Ritson is 4th, Burns is 3rd, Crawler is 2nd, Campbell is 1st. And so he'd have to fight
Ricky
one
Burns.
of those four.
Well, I don't know, it'd be risky, wouldn't it, Ricky Burns?
It would be, because Ricky Burns has obviously got a lot of so much experience, probably more than any active British fighter. So it's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, I look forward to seeing how this lad's career develops. Tennyson is also on the bill as well.
Yeah, we'll discuss that one. I'll bring it up. In fact, we'll do it now. Who's Tennyson fighting again? It's
I can't remember, but I know it's a fight.
Ward?
He should win.
Is it Ward?
Yeah, for the European. Ward's a good fighter.
Yeah, it's not necessarily. I think it's a pretty 50-50 fight. It's Martin J. Ward, I think. Yeah.
But Tennyson is very vulnerable, as we saw in his fight. He had that clash where both fighters went down. I can't remember who he fought.
I'm bringing up their box recs now. Martin Joseph Ward. He had a tough fight. He had a tough fight with who was it? No, I don't think it was Jay Ward who
Tennyson. It was Tennyson who had the tough fight, and it was another fight of the years. Both fighters went down, and it was a bargain. Really good fight.
Oh yeah, was it Ryan Doyle?
No, it wasn't his last fight, but it was a fight before that, or the fight before that.
Yeah,
Who was the fight before?
either Darren Trainer or Brian Doyle.
It was Darren Trainer.
Yeah, I
It was Darren
remember it.
Trainer.
I remember it now. It was that was. Yeah, it
One
says
hell of a
here,
fight.
Trainer down in the second round from a right to the head. Yeah, that was a great little scrap. That was so. Yeah, for me, it's a tough one because you got James Tennyson, who you say you think he should win this fight, but
It's a winnable fight for him.
Martin Joseph Ward's an undefeated super featherweight too. And so I see it as quite a 50-50 fight. I'm leaning towards Tennyson as well, but I think either guy could take this fight foreseeably. I wouldn't like to bet on this fight.
It would be good. If one of his past fights is anything to go by, then I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah,
It's
looking like it's going to be a very good little card. And then, of course, we come to the main event. And this is interesting. We'll have a little discussion about this in two ways, right? Because we've got Whyte versus Browne. And recently, the gloves are off were released. Did you happen to watch all of that?
I did. It's bloody brilliant. I thought it was good.
Yeah,
it was better than the Joshua.
A lot better. Far more entertaining. Far more entertaining. It might not be a better fight, but it's definitely a better press conference and better build-up for sure. Whyte, for me, looked very small compared to Browne, and I think Boxing Gossip pointed out this in his video. When Browne comes in heavy to fights, he's very slow. And so if Browne looks slow if he looks as big as that on the scales, the day before the fight, I'm going to lean heavily towards Dillian Whyte to win on points. If he looks really fit, I will lean towards Browne to get the knockout just late rounds.
If Whyte's going to win it, he's going to have to stay away from Browne. He's just going to have to box on the outside. If he gets involved in an all-out war, he'll get knocked out. It's that simple. You have to respect Browne's power.
There's two theories for that, though. If you fight on the outside, right, medium to long range, you're on the end of his most powerful hooks. If you bum rush Whyte, if you bum rush Browne and sit on his chest, he probably doesn't have the same power in his uppercuts that he has in his overhand right. And so I would say it might be worth fighting dirty on the inside and tying up Browne as much as possible.
This is Dillian Whyte's toughest fight since Ada.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
I think this is a fight. This is a very risky fight. Like, he could lose. He could then get knocked out, and I could see it happening. Seriously.
But I mean, it's heavyweight boxing, isn't it? And you could fight Shannon Briggs and get knocked out in the first round.
Yeah. But I just don't think Whyte's got the same power as Browne. There's no way.
No. Whyte's not got the power. He's got to look to sort of nick the rounds on points. But I think...
Like he did against Chisora.
Yeah. Well, no. If he fights like he did against Chisora with wild hooks, I think Browne will knock him out for sure. I think Whyte needs to construct his punches straight down the middle in this fight and keep his guard up and fight inside the pocket. I honestly think if you fight inside Browne's pocket, he can't land power shots on you.
But, I mean, Dillian Whyte can use his superior boxing skill to win this if he's smart. But he's got to have a good game plan. If not, then he'll lose.
I agree. I 100%. It's such a great fight for that reason. I'm leaning towards Dillian Whyte because Browne doesn't look the fittest he's ever been. But I might change my prediction on weigh-in day. So yeah, I'll let people know on weigh-in day. Really, depends what Browne looks like on those scales.
Yeah, it's a fight that Dillian Whyte dare not lose. It's as simple as that.
I agree. He goes so far backwards if he loses this fight, and the sad thing is He doesn't even go that much further forward if he wins it. So it is a very risky fight. I agree with you
But
on
are you
that.
surprised his people took this fight? Because I really am surprised that Eddie Hearn put him in this direction when he's got lucrative other fights that are more lucrative than this.
I mean, the problem is, who else is he actually going to fight right now? You've got Parker and AJ tied up in possible rematches, depending on what happens. You've got what maybe Wilder, but I mean, Wilder was no, he was very dismissive to Whyte. But if Whyte beats Browne comfortably, then maybe that fight can happen. So who knows?
But this is a 50-50 fight in my view when you look at it really.
Yeah, I mean,
whoever wants it the most.
It's 50-50 for me until I see them both on the scales, and then I'll make a real easy call. If Browne's
going to win, he
Browne
has to get rid of.
Yeah, he probably has to knock out Whyte because Whyte will get the Sky hometown decision.
That's what I'm saying. So if it goes to points, Browne ain't going to win.
If Browne looks like he did against Chagayev, I'm going to make my prediction for him to win. If he looks like he did in the fights prior to that, personally, I think Whyte's got too much for him.
Is he still trained by Ricky Hatton or not?
Is Lucas Browne still trained by Ricky Hatton?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't think so, but I'm looking it up. I don't think so. I'm not sure, man. I will have to. My internet started to go really slow as well, so I can't actually.
No problem.
Oh, hang on. Here we go. 2016. Rodney Williams. His trainer's called Rodney Williams.
Oh, so it's different. I've never heard of him.
Yeah. No, I think he's an Australian guy. No. Yeah, I mean, not really sure.
Well with him. Ricky Hatton did well with him.
How long did he train him for? I wasn't even sure they were training.
At one point.
Yeah, they were. They were. Yeah, because promoter Ricky Hatton, he was definitely promoting him. Yeah.
And his trainer as well, I believe, at one point.
I believe so. I think you're right, man. Yeah. But yeah, it's a good fight. I'm very excited for this fight this weekend. I hope everybody tunes into it. It's going to be a I can imagine it going one of two ways, man, because it's one of those fights where you expect it to be a bar brawler, but if Dillian Whyte comes out and boxes on the back foot, it could be actually a really boring fight, and I hope that doesn't happen, but it could happen.
But like you say, he may have to fight that way in order to win it.
Maybe.
Because you know as well as I do, if it goes to points, there's no way Browne's getting the decision.
No. Unless he wins really convincingly, like every round sort of thing. But it's unlikely. Anyway, man, that's pretty much everything for this week. It's a bit of a shorter week because there's less... Oh, if you've got anything you want to say, please do.
One thing to mention, Did you see the article I sent you the other day about Jürgen Browne mounting a legal challenge to be the opponent to replace George Groves?
I saw that, and it's a little bit more complicated than that. So, Jürgen Browne, if George Groves can't fight like for a year and a half, I think they probably would just choose Jürgen Browne anyway. But because the fight can happen, they're going to make the final because it's obviously a big money fight. And then I think Jürgen Browne does have some argument to get a shot at Callum Smith at some point, because when you're sick for a fight, usually you don't have somebody come and replace you. You just reschedule the fight for 1 or 2 months. And so he does have some argument in that he deserves his shot at some point. But by the time he gets it, he's going to be 40.
Exactly.
So it's kind of pointless at this point, and that's why I just laughed when you sent me the article. Like, I can understand where he's coming from, but no one really wants to see Callum Smith versus Jürgen Browne.
Okay. There is another thing I want to talk about. It's a video that Boxing Gossip did. Subscribe to this great channel. About Chris, that he saw an article in the paper about how Chris Eubank knocked some guy out when he was 15 over some $2,000 debt or some rubbish.
Yeah, I've actually seen videos of Chris Eubank Jr.'s street fights. It's not pretty. He was a really bad fighter back then. Not a lot's changed.
Also,
I'm kidding.
Also, Tom said that, and there was another article that Hatman did, where Hatman said that Chris Eubank Jr. said he thought he was the aggressor in the Groves fight, and I just had to laugh my head off when I saw that.
Well, I suppose he was the aggressor, but I mean,
he thought he did enough to win.
Right. Well, he was the aggressor, but that doesn't really mean much. Like, there's many fights where the aggressor loses. Jamie Cox was the aggressor against George Groves, but he got knocked the fuck out. So it doesn't really matter who the aggressor is, does it? He is a deluded guy at the moment. I agree with Tom. I agree. I watched that video. I saw it, and I agree with Tom entirely.
Tom also came.
Eubank's a worry.
Yeah. But Tom also said that the eventual will happen because obviously Eubank Jr. is the mandatory for the IBO belt again. So he said what will likely happen is that he'll fight some bum for another Rendell Quinlan for the IBO belt, which is likely to happen.
You called it pretty much as soon as the George Groves fight was finished. I'll tell you another thing you also called, and I'll give you good credit for this one. David Hay said they're looking at trying to bring Lemroy Thomas over for Joe Joyce. Yeah, he said it in an interview.
It's just a guess. I just hazard a guess. You know,
yeah,
because we know what snake David Hay is.
Yeah, it's true. It's so true.
He is a snake, isn't he?
It's so true.
We'll move on to David Hay in a minute. But yeah, so he'll end up fighting some bum for the IBO belt. Then he'll get another big fight, he'll get beat again, and he'll get another payday he doesn't deserve. He took Eubank Jr. talks his way into stuff. But we said what he needs to do is tell his dad to piss off, make a phone call, private phone call to Eddie Hearn and say, look, Eddie, I want to meet him.
He needs to speak to Roger Mayweather again. That's the truth of it.
And speak to Eddie Hearn and say, look.
Roger Mayweather could work on his defense, his jab, and some other fundamentals. He'd be incredibly skillful, but he doesn't want to listen to anyone, so he's not going to do it.
Well, he needs to stop living off his dad's reputation. That's the only reason he ever got these title opportunities, and he's got these second-rate world titles, isn't it? Really, when you look at it, but he's got a bit of talent. He's blowing it, and he's blowing it royally, isn't he? Really?
He's got athletic ability. He's got natural talent, but he's got the wrong mindset for boxing. I think he treats it like a game, not a sport.
He spent too much time with his dad. I think that's the problem. His dad is a problem, and he can't even see it.
I can't argue that. I think some people said that for Chavez Jr. too at times in his career. But how can you tell a son? How can you tell a son to stop listening to their father? It's not easy to do.
Any good parent with half their brain cells, correct, would say, "Look, son, me having you as home, even though I was a good fighter, me having you, you don't respect me enough. So I'm going to step away and let you get on with it." That's what any parent should do. Do you agree?
I agree, but it's not always so straightforward when egos play. It should be, but it's just not. We've seen it before in time and time again. Even when you look at different, not just boxing, when you look at different sports, you see sons often get pushed into the same sport, but it doesn't mean they have the same talent, and then it causes them more problems than it brings them joy.
But with Eubank Jr., it's the other way. His dad's not living his life through him. His son's living his life through his dad, through what his dad. He's just trying to copy his dad.
I don't know, man. I think it's pretty 50-50. When you see Eubank Senior prance into the ring, he is definitely reliving some past memory. It's pretty 50-50, I think.
Yeah, it's bad news. I just want to see Eubank Jr. be the best he can be. You know.
I agree. That's why I think that's why Boxing Gossip is so critical. Like, he's not trying to hate on Eubank Jr. He's just saying if he doesn't change these things, he's never going to be a world champion. And I agree with that.
I don't think he will, unless he gets shakes off his dad.
Yeah.
grows some balls and
Yep.
actually does something for him that's detrimental to his career. Not having his dad hanging around is setting back years.
I
If
agree.
he did what like young Ben's do, he might be able to eat some humble pie.
True.
Yeah.
Did you see? That's an interesting thing that we didn't mention. Conor Benn has signed a rematch with that Paland guy. The guy he almost lost to. He's signed a rematch with him, so that's going to be interesting.
He needs to win it better this time. He should win this time, shouldn't he? Really?
Hopefully, man. Let's hope so. Anyway, I've got to get on with some stuff today, man. So we will wrap it up there.
David Hay.
Okay,
David Hay
yeah.
is a snake. David Hay is a snake, and he's the biggest con man in boxing.
Well, he is somewhat. I mean, that Friday night show on 5 was bad. And
did you hear about the girl who was on it as well? She was like her first time. She's 34 years old, Pakistani girl who boxed, and she was a world champion kickboxer, but she got a draw. She looked terrible.
Oh dear. Oh man, that's bad news for David Hay. That was his new big signing.
Well, she's not that good.
She's
34.
That's a shame to hear.
But they chose a flyweight who was right down near the bottom of the rankings, and she still couldn't beat someone who was a weight below.
Oh dear. Well, I mean, to be fair, Michael Venom Page is fighting on the Bellew Hay card, and do you remember how bad his first fight was? He looked so terrible. So we'll give her a break. Maybe she can come back and win a rematch. Johnny Nelson lost his first 3 fights and went on to be a cruiserweight world champion. So it can be done.
But then we've got to look forward to David Hay. What else will drop off his arm or his leg this time?
I think his hair will fall out halfway through the fight.
What? And hopefully his mouth will wire shut so we don't hear any more of his fight.
That would be nice. Man. Yeah, let's wrap it up.
I better go.
I'm really looking forward to the Whyte Browne fight next weekend, and we'll be back here to discuss that and any other action that is on over the course of the weekend. Peace out, everyone.
Bye, everyone.